showing the bloated ego and condescending attitude of Mad Dog Lassiter, and featuring production specialist Flounder on the phones, along with the accurate and dependable reporting of Amy Shadroff in Newsland. And now the voice that has the ladies swooning, that's not what I saw, Mr. Lassiter.
Flounder, the openings, the show openings, they seem to be getting more derogatory and biting. I'm hearing bitterness, Flounder.
There is bitterness.
Why? I don't sign your paycheck. What do you take it out on me for? You know, why don't you call Opie Dopey names or something? You know, take some shots at him.
What about Sue? Can I make fun of Sue?
It's not nice.
Well, it's not nice to make fun of Opie either.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
8 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock, a Wednesday night, November the 13th, 1996. I would normally say, good evening, fun seekers, but, let's cut the crap. Let's cut the crap and get right down to it. I got a hell of a lot of things I got to say here. First and foremost, I won't say that. It's too derogatory. It's too inflammatory. It's not derogatory. It's inflammatory. Black people annoy me a lot. Did you know that? They annoy me a great deal. I feel as though, I'm just talking to you from the heart here. I feel as though at times that, frankly, they spend too much time feeling sorry for themselves. And I feel at times as though they don't do enough to help themselves out of, whatever plight, mess they find themselves in. I can see that they're not as fortunate as most white people, all white people. Because if you're white, you're not black, and therefore you've got a head start. Ain't no bed of roses being a white person. A lot of black people don't understand that. When you're a white person, other white people dump on you every chance they get. The powerful people in life, they don't care if you're white or you're black or you're brown or you're pink or you're green. If they can dump on you, they're going to dump on you. And sometimes I get annoyed with black people when they don't understand that. And sometimes I get very annoyed with black people when they just can't deal with reality. And the reality is that if you're trying to get something from somebody, recognition, a gig, a place to live, whatever. When you're trying to get somebody to grant you something that you want, the intelligent thing is to not antagonize that individual. When you're trying to get someone to overlook differences and things of that nature, the intelligent thing to do is not to point out your differences. Like wearing dashikis or that kind of stuff. And I get really annoyed sometimes with black people when they don't realize that. Because, what the hell, I'm just a dumb, stupid white guy. I ain't black. Life's fairly good for me. And then you run into a week like this week, where you find out that one of the nation's largest companies employs a lot of people with some very ugly ideas. And another large company in this nation sells franchises to people with some pretty ugly ideas, pretty mean-spirited ideas. And then you turn on the radio, and on a Wednesday afternoon, your phone rings around 5 o'clock, and it's Sue Tricas, and she says, "You want to talk about the St. Petersburg thing tonight?" And I said, "What St. Petersburg thing?" I hadn't heard anything about anything today. Frankly, I didn't have the radio on after about 9 o'clock this morning. And I said, what's St. Petersburg thing? And so she starts to tell me, and so, of course, I just reach over and I turn on the radio. And I'm very, very sorry to tell you that I was embarrassed. Very embarrassed for the community that I live in. I'm not from here. I probably won't die here. But I live here. And for better or for worse, I'm part of the community. And I work at this radio station. And this radio station has been both good to me and caused me some grief. But it's a fine set of call letters that have been around for a very long time. And I'm very proud to have been affiliated with these call letters not once but twice. But I wasn't proud of them today. I wasn't proud of the community that I live in. And I wasn't proud of the people that I share this community with. Because I heard some of the most mean-spirited, some of the most ignorant, some of the most biased, some of the most vicious and foul and vile people in my community, on my radio station, in my house. There was this one guy that under normal circumstances you would kill to have as a caller.
This is a 970 WFLA News Special Report.
Good evening, Amy Shadroff. News Radio 970 WFLA updating you from our 7 o'clock report tonight. A St. Petersburg police officer shot tonight on the city's south side at 18th Avenue South and 13th Street. The unidentified officer was taken to Bayfront Medical Center, where he is in stable condition right now, suffering from some gunshot wounds to his legs. St. Petersburg spokeswoman Lila Davis says gunshots were fired near the Uhuru house, and there are reports of rock and bottle throwing in other areas of the south side nearby tonight. This all taking place hours after a grand jury ruled that Officer James Knight, the shooting of 18-year-old Tyron Lewis, was justifiable homicide. Again, a St. Petersburg police officer shot tonight on the city's south side at 18th Avenue South and 13th Street. He's in stable condition tonight at Bayfront Medical Center, suffering from gunshot wounds to the leg. Stay tuned to 970 WFLA for more information on the continuing situation. I'm Amy Shadroff, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Well, ain't that music to your ears? Anyway, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted with life here in this community that is yours, that's mine. I heard things that troubled me very, very much, that depressed me very much. I was starting to say that there was this one guy that under normal circumstances you would kill to have as a caller. Sounded to be about 30 years old, sounded articulate, sounded well-educated, probably had a decent gig, all that kind of good stuff. It's kind of stuff you like to have your advertisers hear. It's kind of stuff you like to have your competitors hear, you know? It's the kind of thing that you strive for in this business. Kind of like, putting a good face on something. You want people to think that these are the kind of people that listen to your radio station. These are the kind of people that listen to your radio show. And the guy was going on and on and on, saying all kinds of incredible things. Oh, well, I'm telling you, Brian, these blacks, they take crack cocaine, and they all say that, it's okay for me to take crack cocaine because people discriminate. They all say the same thing, Brian. They take this dope, and it's my fault that they take the dope. They all say the same thing. The incredible thing is I've never heard a black person ever say anything of the kind, let alone all of them. I've heard some bending over backwards liberals trying to explain why people might try to blot their lives out with crack cocaine. Never heard a black person say anything like that, either did he. He wishes that he had. He's convinced himself that he has. Because he hates niggers. And he doesn't mind telling vile, vicious lies, and he doesn't mind spreading falsehoods. And I listen to call after call after call after call, doing the same damn thing. Relating stories that never happened. Casting blame where there is none. You know what the hell I'm bleeding heart, you know? And I stood there in my kitchen tonight before I came in here, just trying to imagine what kind of strength, what kind of character, what kind of superhuman beings the vast, vast, vast majority of black people are. To live in a world filled with such hate. To get up every single day of their miserable lives and have to face lies, misrepresentation, bullcrap, ignorance, ugliness, hate. Every single day. For no reason under the sun. No reason under the sun. And I felt very ashamed for the times that I am annoyed. I can't begin to imagine living in this country. I can't begin to imagine living in these times as anything but a white man. And I am so damn grateful I don't have to. Just try to imagine what it must be like. Turn on the radio, pick up a newspaper, sit in a booth in a fast food restaurant, overhearing this kind of stuff. Having people talking about you as though you're a piece of furniture, and not a desirable piece either. Over and over and over and over again, day after day after day, and I just don't get no better. I ain't going to get no better. What an incredible group of people. How I admire them. Admire them for their strength, admire them for their character. How very, very sorry I am. How very embarrassed and ashamed I am to be a member of a community, a member of a group of people, a member of a nation filled with so much hate. And there's not a damn thing I can do about it. There's not a damn thing that anybody can do about it. I almost kind of envision people who sit out there and wait for nights like tonight so that they can vent and spew and feel justified in doing so. But I'm very, very ashamed tonight. I'm very, very ashamed. I wish that there was something I could do. I wish there were words that I could say. I wish that there was something, anything. But there aren't. Just have to live with it. There isn't any reasoning with ignorance. There isn't any reasoning with bigotry. Because there isn't any reason. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing to justify it. We perpetuate this. We raise up one generation after another and teach them to be intolerant. I know that. I know that for a fact. Because you people have done everything in your power to teach me. And I'm very sorry to tell you that there are times when your lessons have succeeded. Very sorry to tell you that. I don't know what else to say to you. I'm going to give you the phone numbers and you can say whatever you want. Because there's nothing I can do to stop you. There's nothing I can do to change your ways. There's nothing I can do to reason with you. I just have to accept you. Just like they have to accept you. I just have to make the best of it. Just like they have to make the best of it. So you revel in the misery and the discontent and the frustration. You revel in it. Use it to prove your point. 990-WFLA in Hillsborough. 990-WFLA. In Vanilla, it's 461-WFLA. 461-WFLA. The GTE MobileNet star line is 970 star. The Delaware Savings toll-free line, 1-800-969-WFLA. The allergy-free air filter, does it work? You bet it does. Will it give you cleaner, fresher, healthier air? You bet it will. And I couldn't say that, I wouldn't say that, if it weren't true. If you will take the old filter out, that disposable old filter out of your system and replace it with an allergy-free air filter, they guarantee that it will immediately, instantly trap the mold and the spores and the contaminants that make your house dirty and dusty, make your lungs dirty and dusty, cause you to cough and sneeze and wheeze. The allergy-free air filter, what are you waiting for? Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty. It works. Let me give you the telephone number, because that's the only way you can get one. 1-800-ALLERGY. That's 1-800-ALLERGY. 7:25 is the time. Italian food. Well, if you want great Italian food, then the name to remember is Jimmy O's Italian Steakhouse and Lounge. Jimmy O catered our staff meeting this week with his eggplant parmesan, spinach lasagna, antipasta salad, and of course his cannolis. Cannolis that he stuffed right before the very eyes of the assembled masses. Jimmy O's Italian Steakhouse and Lounge, 16411 North Florida Avenue in Lutz. Well, I suppose there isn't any putting it off any longer, is there? Let's do it. John in Tampa. John, you're on the air, 970 WFLA.
Yes, hi, Mr. Lassiter. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'd like to preface my statements by simply stating that I have the honor. I'm 52 years of age, and I have spoken both with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X prior to both their deaths, and this was truly an honor.
Sure.
Especially Malcolm X, Mr. Shabazz, only 14 days prior to his assassination. Okay? And what I would like to say to you is I think both of these individuals truly, with the best interests of humanity in what they did, especially Malcolm X in his latter days prior to his assassination. I would like to simply state that maybe I detest any taking of life, and I'm sure everybody will on this. And what I would like to simply state is that maybe, possibly, this patrolman, this police officer who took this individual's life, maybe stood possibly in front of, I'd like to know who was behind him, and behind him I mean the other citizens of St. Petersburg. And he simply placed himself between that car and those people in St. Petersburg. In direct violation of this department's regulations and everything that you've been taught. I duly agree with you on that. Absolutely 100% direct violation of the department's regulations. But if you really look at what a police officer has to do, and this kind of hurts me, okay, when I say this, he places himself in harm's way between the public. And I just simply would like to say is that the only individual that evening was the gentleman that was killed, that young boy, which is atrocious. Only he knew what was going down. He was a fleeing fellow.
Why don't you tell me something I don't know?
Yes, no, well, let's not prolong that.
Well, let's not prolong this call if you're going to, tell me things that we all know.
Okay, well, let's attack
let's get to the point.
Situation, possibly. My point is that possibly this police officer, based upon whatever came down, placed himself in jeopardy to protect the other citizens of the city of St. Petersburg. Specifically, this...
Yes, sir. Nobody has said otherwise. That's what the grand jury found. No one has said otherwise.
Yes, but it...
So what is your point?
Well, my point is that the individual that was involved in the poor fellow, the poor young boy that was killed, possibly, that if that boy would have escaped that situation at 6 o'clock approximately that evening when people are going home, getting off buses, walking the streets, my wife...
The officer was not disciplined for shooting the individual. The officer was disciplined in front of the car, putting himself and therefore the public in jeopardy.
No, I think maybe he placed himself in jeopardy, and therefore...
Well, that's all fine and well that that's what you would like. That's all fine and well that that's what you would like to think. But the witnesses and the department have determined that what he did, the way that he placed himself, was in total and complete violation of their policies and their training. He was disciplined to send a message to all of the other members of the department that you play by the rules.
I agree with you on that point.
So what is your point of calling?
The point is that if this man did not place himself into jeopardy, and maybe, just maybe, and...
Sir, I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm going to tell you one more time, sir. He was not disciplined for shooting. I'm going to give you the break of a lifetime. I'm going to explain something to you, and it'll make your life a lot easier if you don't ignore what I'm about to say to you. Officer Knight was not disciplined for defending his own life. Officer Knight was not disciplined for shooting a fleeing felon. He was disciplined for unnecessarily placing his own life and safety in jeopardy. He was disciplined for failing to practice safe and sound police procedures and indirectly thereby jeopardizing his partner and the public as a whole. That is what he was disciplined for. He was not disciplined to be tossed as a sacrifice to the black community. He was disciplined for sound reasons. He was disciplined for practicing bad police procedure. And it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier on the show tonight if you don't ignore that. Just a little word to the wise, okay? We'll see how wise you guys are. Let's do Bill in St. Petersburg. Bill, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Excellent.
Hey, I'm basically tired of hearing about this. It's why can't we just, I hate to do the Rodney King thing, but, it's a matter of the law was created for all people, regardless of race or color. The same thing applies as far as the Constitution is concerned as well. It just comes down to a basic set that everybody has to follow the same rules. And when the rules are broken and you break the law, you have to pay the consequences. And unfortunately, that motorist, he didn't stop, and, he was already in trouble with the law as it was. And it comes down to...
Nobody knew that.
Well, at the time they didn't know it. But it still comes down to the basic fact that the judicial system in our country needs to be worked on. Because there's people that go out and kill people, and, they get off on a technicality.
Yeah, really, name one.
Huh?
Name one.
Getting off on a technicality?
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of anybody.
Oh, I didn't think you could. But it didn't trouble you to say it, did it?
No.
No.
But, but that's...
You have no personal knowledge of anybody getting off for murder on a technicality?
Well, other than...
Do you know what technicalities are called, sir?
A technicality?
Yeah, do you know what another word for a technicality is?
What?
Think about it for just a second. See if you can come up with it. No, it's not a mistake.
An error?
Constitutional rights. That's what a technicality is, sir. It's when the government doesn't provide to you the rights that you are guaranteed. That's a technicality.
Well, we all need to be a part of the system and, redefine the system as it is, because there's, it's definitely messed up. There's no way that this should happen. There's no reason to even riot in the streets of St. Petersburg. What's done is done.
No, there's no reason for you to, is there?
No.
Free, white, and 21, huh?
Well, hey, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Race has nothing to do with it.
Doesn't it?
No. If you live by the rules, hey.
Unless you're a nigger.
No.
Then you're expected to more than live by the rules. You're also expected to cheerfully put up with discrimination. You're expected to cheerfully put up with unfairness and injustice.
No, you don't have to do that, but there's always ways to go about it without being violent about it.
Yeah, you can bleach yourself and hope that nobody notices.
Oh, come on, Bob. There's more to life than that. And
Really?
Well, of course there is. You know?
But you're glad you're not a nigger, aren't you? Yeah, me too.
That's a racist term, Bob. You shouldn't use that.
No, it's not a racist term, sir. It's a very sarcastic term.
Well, either way you want to look at it, it's a term that shouldn't be used, period. Just like honky.
And you're damn glad that you're not a nigger, aren't you?
Well,
Me too.
that doesn't make any difference, though.
Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Because you're trying to tell me that what you know exists doesn't exist. Because otherwise you wouldn't mind, would you?
I do mind.
You're
But,
damn straight, and I mind too. I don't want to be treated like one.
Well, neither do I, but,
That's right. So why do you treat them that way?
I don't treat them like...
Sure you do. You're trying to tell me that it doesn't exist, and yet you know it does.
Well, I know it exists, but there has to be ways to change it.
Sure, they're supposed to be cheerful about it.
No. Everybody has to pull together in order to make the system work for everybody, regardless of their...
Well, maybe the first way of pulling together is to not try to brush aside the fact that there's a very, very serious racial problem in this country. Maybe that's the first way we could start.
Well, that is.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has to work together, regardless of what your color is, because the next thing you know, hey, maybe they'll be discriminating against talk show hosts. You never know.
What does that mean, sir?
Well, I mean, think about it, Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take much to be discriminated against nowadays.
Uh-huh.
You know, the gays are discriminated against, the Asian are discriminated against, women are still discriminated against. It doesn't take much until finally you get rid of the discrimination, and then they find another way to discriminate against another group.
Oh, it sounds so beats me. Have a great life.
News Radio 970 WFLA.
7:45 the time. Let's go to Mark on a cell phone. Mark, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I
Good evening.
was just hoping that as somebody that has a job that serves the community on the south side of St. Pete, a 34-year-old Caucasian individual as myself, and the majority of the people that I serve being African American, the majority of my friends being African American, that young man that was just speaking, I think does, at least for me, a very troubling part of this whole problem that our country has, and I think it all has to do with race. Cannot see a distinction between a Caucasian police officer and a young African American youth, and not taking into consideration the situation of somebody standing in front of your automobile, and not having people react to it when a young man is shot. It just seems to me, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I think that race is so important in this equation and is at the crux of it. We are still a racist country, no matter what anybody says about affirmative action not being needed anymore, or whatever any so-called intellectual may say about how we have progressed as I believe that the majority of people in this country, and I usually don't use such large sweeping generalities, each of us in our own hearts do harbor some sort of prejudice that then may breed to racism.
That's it? I mean,
Yes,
just stop
sir.
talking, dude. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Just don't stop talking. Let's do Barbara in Plant City. Barbara, you're on the air, 970 WFLA.
Good evening, Mr. Lassiter.
Good evening, Barbara.
I have been listening to you now for about 4 or 5 months. I haven't been able to call because I've been sitting with a neighbor lady that had Alzheimer's, and her family put her in a nursing home today. So I thought that I would give you a call, but sad subject matter, you know. But, Bob, I had to make a decision. I was raised up, racism is inbred. It's bred into you. It's in our religion, the Protestant religion, the Baptist religion. And I had to make a decision years and years ago. I was a young mother in my early 20s, head of a household, single head of a household. And I was working in Cleveland, Ohio, in a bar and for a couple of Jewish guys. And the black men, when they got paid, they worked at the steel mills. And when they got paid every 2 weeks, I got an excellent tip from them because they knew I was working to raise my children. And I made a decision that I didn't want to be prejudiced. I didn't want to hate anyone for the color of their skin or anything else. I didn't want anything to do with that. And two of the rules in my household, since I was head of household, and they exist today, is you don't use the Lord's name in vain, and you don't use the N-word for black people. Not in my house. I ran my brother off for doing it. My son-in-law, I was talking to my daughter on the phone the other day. He used it talking on the phone, and believe me, he'll hear from me. And what to do about the racism that we live in today. And I'll tell you, since I moved to the South from up north, it's much, much worse. Even the old people, it's unbelievable to me. But what I do is in every day of my life, when I go to the grocery store, when I go to the Walmart, Kmart, wherever I go, if I have the opportunity to be nice, to be friendly, I do it. I called a black man sir the other day, and I'll bet he had never been called sir by a white woman before. I could just tell by the look on his face that he was astounded. And it made me feel wonderful inside. And I'm just sorry about everything that's going on. And I wanted to call you and tell you that, and I wanted to call you and tell you I've been listening every chance I got. And kudos to you, and I think you're a hell of a guy.
Thank you, Barbara. Let's go to, now let's do this instead. Let us go to Larry in Largo. Larry, you're on the air, 970 WFLA.
Yeah. I liked your monologue there. And also, you can do something just like me. This is the first time I ever called, and I'm upset about what happened. So, something can happen.
No, there's not a damn thing I can do to change the heart of a bigot. There's not a damn thing I can do to change the heart of an ignorant man who decides to live his life in ignorance.
But I'm very upset what happened there. Do we have to train young kids how to handle police? See what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, those two police people over there were supposed to handle a situation, right? And they had training, right? And they violated their training. Do we have to teach our children how to deal with police?
Is that it, sir? The dead air is killing me.
Pardon?
Is that it? The dead air is killing me.
Well, can you hear me?
When you talk, sir, I can, but I'm not sure that I want to continue. Let's do Pat in Clearwater. Pat, you're on the air, 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Yes?
A dead man can't talk. All we've got is their word that he was going 70 miles an hour. Was someone chasing him that fast?
Yes, ma'am, they were. There were witnesses to it.
Okay. Same way with the girl over in Hillsborough. She was a 15-year-old being chased at 100 miles an hour, and she ended up killing 2 black people. Was the car worth it? This kid, we don't know. From what I understood on the news, his mother left when he was young, and a man was on the news was bringing him up in his family. And the thing is, they distorted all that out over. We don't know if he's ever had a felony, but they did not know that.
Yes, we do, ma'am. We do. He had a very long police record.
They didn't know that when they started chasing him.
No, man, they didn't. What they knew is that they had a man in a stolen car driving recklessly and endangering the lives of innocent people. That's what they knew when they started chasing him.
Okay. If they weren't chasing him, would he have been going as fast?
Yes, ma'am. That's when they started chasing him.
Oh,
when they noticed his speeding, yeah.
Okay. But what I would like to say, I can count 13 law enforcement officers who are now obstructing justice on a crime to cover up for a crime, and we can't even get anything done about it. And some of these people are involved in that case right down there.
Ma'am, you don't come on the air and mention names of... Excuse me, ma'am. You don't come on my show or any other show. Oh, hang up, you old bitch. I shall continue to chastise you anyway. You don't come on here and accuse people of very, very serious crimes when, first of all, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You don't even know the facts. But you know that so-and-so is obstructing justice. You're a disgusting old bag. World will be a better place when you finally get around to doing the decent thing and die. It's a horrible thing to come on the air and charge someone with an incredibly serious offense without crap to back it up. Let's go to Wally in Gibsonton. Hi, Wally. You're on the air at 970 WFLA. Once, twice, line 4. What do you expect? Let's do Pat in Tampa. Pat, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, I'd like to focus on the fear rather than the anger and the hate, which I don't seem to hear that much of. I think really people are embarrassed to say how fearful they are, but they are fearful. They want to get together in groups, and they want to get together and feel comfortable. And I don't see any big problem with people talking in restaurants about their fears, even if they do it sideways. My big problem with this whole thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? You don't see any problem with people talking in restaurants about their fears. What are you talking about?
Well, you were saying that how terrible it must be to be in a restaurant and hear people talking about the terrible their hate or whatever. I think they're fearful. And I think black people are fearful as well. And I don't think you're just because you hear some white people talking. I think black people are talking too. I think you should give them the credit for discrediting a couple of hundred people or a crack dealer or whatever.
Funny, I didn't hear any of them on the air today. I just heard white people fantasizing.
Well,
did you hear something I didn't hear?
I think that your first caller was trying to make a point.
Yeah? What was that?
In saying that perhaps that policeman really was trying to stop a fleeing felon and really believed that he was protecting the community.
Sir, nobody said otherwise.
Even though he was...
Excuse me, sir. No one said otherwise.
Agreed, Bob. What I'm trying to say is that if you extend that point of protection of society, do you wonder how many victims that 18-year-old may have had in his lifetime had he lived?
Excuse me, sir. Let's try this again. The officer. Excuse me, sir. Don't interrupt me.
Oh.
Would you like to terminate the con? Would you like to?
Give it up.
I'd be delighted to grant your wish, sir. I'll try this one more time. The officer was not disciplined for defending his life. The officer was not disciplined for shooting a fleeing felon. The officer was disciplined for doing so in an unsafe, unprofessional manner, jeopardizing himself and thereby indirectly the rest of the community. That and that alone is what he was disciplined for. Citizen Knight was found not guilty by a grand jury for doing what any citizen would do when he thought his life was in jeopardy, defending his life. He was found not guilty. Officer Knight was disciplined for unprofessional police conduct. The unprofessional police conduct had nothing whatsoever to do with defending his life. It had nothing whatsoever to do for shooting a fleeing felon. It had to do with the manner in which it was done, jeopardizing himself. He was disciplined for jeopardizing himself and thereby the community that he serves. Is that so hard to comprehend? How many times do you have to be told? It's not what you want to hear, is it? That's the problem, isn't it? It's not what you want to hear.
More unrest tonight on the south side of St. Petersburg. It all started when an officer was shot in the legs at 18th Avenue South and 13th Street South. 970 WFLA Sharon Parker is on scene now at the command center, which is set up outside the Dome. She joins us now live. Sharon, what's going on out there?
Well, if it's any indication as to what's happening down around 18th Avenue and 13th Street South, we heard from Kim Freeman, a woman who was driving on 7th Avenue and 16th Street South. She swung by the command post here because her windows had, she believed her windows had been shot out, and she tells reporters,
driving down the street, we stopped the light, they shot out our windows. My son was in the back seat.
Did you see anybody?
No, I didn't look. All I wanted to do was get out of there.
Now, again, one officer we know has been shot in the legs. He's at Bayfront Medical Center. His name has not been released. There are reports of arson, some rock and bottle throwing, primarily in the 18th Avenue, 13th Street South vicinity. This is where the Aruhu House is, a group of people that are very vocal about their displeasure with the police department. Also, there have been some reports of possible tear gas being used by the police department. But again, we need to get some of these things confirmed. All we know at this point is that an officer was shot there at 18th Avenue and 13th Street South. Reporting live from the command post at the Thunderdome, Sharon Parker, News Radio 970 WFLA.
And 970 WFLA News Director Don Richards joins us now, and he has some information about the officer's name. Don?
The officer is identified as an Officer Glasgow, 18-year veteran of the force. He is, as Sharon indicated, in stable condition at Bayfront Medical Center. The shot apparently just came out of a crowd of people. His prognosis is very, very good. A clean gunshot wound, if that makes sense to people. No real problems, no serious damage.
So not life-threatening?
Definitely not life-threatening.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Don Richards, News Director at 970 WFLA. Pinellas EMS reporting there are fires in the area tonight, but they're not responding to any of them. Now, police have set up a rumor control hotline tonight. That number is 893-7516. Again, 893-7516, rumor control, if you'd like to call and dispel any rumors or find out information that you may have heard tonight. All the mayhem seems to be a result of a decision made earlier in the day by a Pinellas grand jury probing the shooting death of 18-year-old Tyron Lewis. The grand jury ruled the shooting by Officer James Knight was justifiable homicide. And during the decision, the grand jury asked for the community to stay calm tonight. Officer Knight still faces some disciplinary action by the police department.
Jim Knight, the officer who shot Tyrone Lewis dead, is suspended for 2 months without pay. St. Pete Police Chief Darrell Stevens says the department's shooting review board thinks Knight should have moved from in front of the stolen car Lewis was driving because the car bumped him several times.
We felt that he had the opportunity to remove himself from that threat of danger during the process of that bumping.
Knight's lawyer says the suspension is not based on evidence, but a political move. He thinks his client's a scapegoat. Stevens denies that and pleads with residents to stay calm. Knight's lawyer is taking the suspension to arbitration to at least get Knight's wages back. In St. Petersburg, Dane Weister, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Again, to recap tonight, an officer shot tonight in South St. Petersburg. He's in stable condition at Bayfront Medical with gunshot wounds to the leg. There are scattered reports of rock and bottle throwing and arson fires in the area of 18th Avenue South and 13th Street. But Pinellas Fire isn't responding to any of those fires. Stay tuned to 970 WFLA for the very latest on this situation. 970 WFLA News Time is 8:06.
I'm from the heavyweight champion of the world, Iron Mike Tyson, and this is the world-famous Bob Lassiter Show, starring the Mr. King, what's that word? The magnificent Bob Lassiter. At least the swelling of my eyes will go away. And featuring the Holyfield of Bordeaux Flounder, along with the Queen of News World, is Amy Shadraff. And now, the unmatched and unchallenged, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lassiter.
Amazing. You can pronounce Chardroff, but can't say magnificent. 10 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. Hour number 2, Wednesday, November 13th, 1996. Tom in Ozona. Tom, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Mr. Lassiter.
Yes, sir.
I can't believe what's going on in St. Pete. That horror group should be dealt with like every radical group in this country.
Really? Which group you talking about?
The ones down there in St. Pete, the horror group.
Uh-huh.
that's behind all of this, handing out them flyers, stirring up the violence. Well, white, black, or indifferent, you know, radical groups in this country are disbanded and arrested. And they should be handled the same exact manner.
Really? What do those flyers say?
I have no idea.
You have no idea, but they ought to be arrested and disbanded.
There's many white radical groups that have been disbanded for doing nothing.
Really? Name one.
The ones over there in Wisconsin, I guess it was.
The ones over there in Wisconsin, you guess it was. You can't name one, can you?
No, I can't.
No, I know you can't. But that didn't stop you from saying that, you know, they should be disbanded like the white groups have been disbanded, even though you can't think of one that has been.
Oh, I can think of several. I just can't think of their names.
Yeah, right, of course.
Well, let's go on to something else, sir.
Sure.
Okay, how about you're saying a black man has been held down in this country? I came from poverty.
No, actually, I didn't say that at all, but he has. Thanks for pointing out my deficiency and not saying it tonight.
He's got more chances in life than I'll ever have.
Oh, of course he does.
There's the United Negro College Fund.
The United Negro College. You know what the United Negro College Fund is, sir?
Yeah, it's the scholarship program for the blacks.
And sir, do you know by and large who contributes to it?
The black and white communities.
The black community, sir, by and large, is the community that contributes to it.
Okay, and I'm a contractor, okay? And do you know how many contracts I lost because I don't have a black person working for me?
I hope all of them, sir. I hope all of them.
Yeah, well, that's not the case anyhow.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this here right now.
I'm sure the only reason you don't have any blacks working for you is because you haven't found any qualified.
Actually, my company's rather small, and there's only one other employee with me at this time. But if I had one qualified when I worked for another company, I did hire blacks. Okay? So you're way off base there. You know, I came from the ghetto, and I worked for everything I got.
Yeah.
And I live in a very good community right now, but yet...
Are you implying, sir, that black people don't work for what they have?
I'm not implying that at all.
Then why did you say you work for everything that you have? We all work for everything we have, sir.
Out there shooting police officers doing their job.
Really?
I do not.
You don't? Keep your eyes open.
I don't see anybody in my community outside because they didn't get their way shooting police officers or throwing rocks.
Really?
Never.
Never? No, a white person never did nothing like that.
No.
No, of course not.
Give me one example.
Geez, I don't have any, sir.
I know you don't.
No, of course.
How about the O.J. Simpson trial? They all filled out in front of the courthouse the day the verdict was coming back. Waiting to riot.
Waiting to riot.
Because they're so...
Sir, if they were waiting to riot, they would have rioted anyway.
No, they got their way.
Oh.
They got their way. And that's what it all boils down to. If they don't get their way, they'll use violence. And that is an appalling way to treat any situation.
Yeah.
But you're condoning them, and it's a problem.
Sir, first of all, I'm going to ask you to apologize for lying about what I do.
And
if you don't, I'm going to hang up on you.
Well, if you're not condoning it, I do apologize.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
But, you know, I just can't believe what's going on, and people are making it okay, and it's not okay. If it was white people out there rioting, they should be arrested.
Sir, who's making it okay?
I've heard your callers on there talking about...
No, you haven't heard anybody on my show, sir, saying it's okay.
Well, that old lady you hung up on.
Sir, she wasn't saying it was okay. No one has said it's okay. Because anybody that said it was okay, I'd hang up on. After I bitched him out.
Shot. He's a convicted felon. He tried to kill a police officer. He should have been shot.
Sir, nobody said he shouldn't have.
Well, I can't tell. There's riots. There's riots. There was riots because he was shot, so I can't see how you can
No,
say
sir, there weren't any riots because he was shot. There were riots because they could get away with it.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it.
Oh.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, then what do you want to do about it, sir?
Well, I think that, you know, something should be done about it.
You think that somebody else should go down there and stop it?
I would go down there. I was in the military.
You'd go down there. What the hell you sitting home for now, blabbing away on the phone? Why aren't you down there stopping it, sir?
Shooting people, I would be arrested and charged with murder.
Oh, so somebody else should go down and shoot and be arrested.
Somebody that is in...
What a blowhard you are. You and all the other guys like you sitting in Ozona. Ozona. Somebody should stop it.
Did you serve this country? I did my time in the military. I'm an honorable discharged vet.
Oh.
And if I was in the reserves or the National Guard and they told me to go down to St. Pete and stop them and use deadly force, I certainly would.
Got a gun?
Yeah, Yes, I have a gun.
What do you have a gun for?
Because this country is insane at times.
You have a gun, sir. I'll bet you would tell me that you have a gun because you have a constitutional right to have a gun.
That's right, I do.
That you have a constitutional right to form a militia. And that you have your gun in case your government doesn't do its job.
No.
Isn't that why do you have your gun, sir?
No, I have my gun.
It's not why you have your gun. Oh, you have your gun so you can shoot paper targets tacked to a tree.
To protect my family.
To protect your family and your country, sir. Remember?
If I was still in the
What a blowhard.
I'm not a blowhard. Have you ever...
You're a blowhard. Blowhard, blowhard. The caller is a blowhard. You're afraid of the niggers, aren't you?
No, actually, I'm not.
Then why aren't you down there shooting a couple, huh? Take your gun, your constitutionally mandated gun, form a militia, because the government's not doing its job, and you go down there and put an end to that stuff there.
It's illegal for me to do that.
No, sir, you got a constitutional guarantee. Remember?
No, I do not have a constitutional guarantee.
Damn straight you don't, but that's another show.
Shooting people.
You don't?
No, I do not. And they do not have a constitutional guarantee.
Now, what do you got your gun for, sir? What do you got your gun for, sir?
For my family's protection.
Well, your family's being jeopardized by them riding Zulus down there tonight. They might come to Ozona next.
But I'll tell you what, if I lived in South St. Pete and they came in my door, I would shoot them.
Oh, they'd have to come through your door first.
Well, they have to, sure.
Oh.
If not, I would be...
I thought they were going through your neighbor's door.
better than them. I would be no better...
Sir, I beg your pardon. As a citizen of the United States of America, not only do you have a right, you have an obligation. When you see wrongdoing, when you see law-breaking going on, you have an obligation to do something about it.
Oh, kooks are coming out of the woodwork.
Bleeding heart types?
Yeah, I mean, I people who are showing sympathy and for the oppressed and all that.
Not a soul on this program tonight, sir, showed any sympathy for what's going on in St. Petersburg. Not a soul.
One of the things that I heard was there was a security cop on earlier, and Marie had said he didn't really know what the solution was, and I think you had said you weren't sure either, and I'm not sure I do either, but I think one of the things that has to be done is that whole area down there, and I used to live a block away from Lakewood High. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years, and I was a single parent down there, and there's three major problems that need a huge cultural change in that area or any other area, white or black, that's less fortunate, is that you need first you have a lot of single parent families there. The adult male is totally absent, and you have a lot of single moms raising kids, and that's tough. That's real tough. You've got the second thing I think I see down is that you have this continuing cycle of the addiction to social services and welfare that makes it actually it hinders people from striking out on their own because it actually penalizes them. You lose your health, the health care, and it's like it's going out on a tightrope without a net.
Well, let's get to the bottom line here. I'm running out of time.
I mean, that can be scary. But the third thing is education. Nobody is going to want to come into an oppressed area and give high-paying jobs in an area where your business may get torched, and to people who are less educated than other areas. I mean, people have to get education.
Well, I can sum the whole thing up for you, sir. Midnight soccer leagues, that would take care of it.
Live from Tampa Bay, where it's that time of year again. Pasty white folks in sandals and dark socks, leaving Canadian change for tips. This is the Bob Lassiter Show, starring the lovable Lassiter. Speaking of pasty white and ugly socks, and featuring my good old buddy Flounder in the other room, along with the princess of Newsland, Amy Shadrap. And now, break out the Prozac, folks. It's Mr. Lassiter.
After the hour of 10 o'clock, welcome back, Fun Seekers. Fourth and final one for Wednesday, November the 13th, 1996. God, do I have egg on my face. I just never thought of it the way that last caller in the last hour. God, the solution is so simple. The black men should go home and be dads. The welfare people should be cut off of welfare because it's bad for them. And they should all get educations because, as the caller pointed out, ain't no employer going to go in there with people who have, very little education and open up a place paying high wages. And he's right. I mean, there's no telemarketer that's going to go in there with $6 an hour jobs. Let me see if I can make this a little bit clearer for you. The guy wasn't interested in why black men don't stick around. He wasn't interested in why there are people on welfare. Didn't seem to matter to him. They should just get off it. Just get off it, dude. When I was growing up, the average wage in this country was about $100 a week, $5,000 a year. The rich man in town lived in a $50,000 house, and he drove a big Buick. He lived in a house that cost roughly 5 times what the average worker earned in this country, the rich guy. The richest man in town lived in a $50,000 house, and he drove a big Buick. I wasn't good enough for him. He didn't want to live in a house anymore that only cost 5 times more than he paid his people. He wanted to live in a house that cost 20 times what he paid his people. And he didn't want to drive a Buick. He didn't even want to drive a goddamn Cadillac. He wanted to drive a 800 series, 700 series Beamer, or a $130,000 Mercedes. And the way that he got the house that cost 20 times more, and the car that costs what the average guy in this country earns in a third of his lifetime, is by eliminating jobs and by keeping wages low. Let me give you an example. You can call almost any business today, and you know this is true, it drives you nuts, and a machine answers the phone, and it says, if you want to talk to someone in sales, press 1. If you want to talk to someone in technical support, press 2. And you press 2, and there's another voice recorded that says, if you're having a problem with our model XL 2000, press 1. If you're having a problem or have a question for our model XL 3000, press. Once there was a lady named Marge who used to answer the phone. Well, they decided if they went out and bought a machine, they could get rid of Marge. Marge is a hard-working lady. So she went and took Gladys's job. Gladys used to work as a cashier at the cafeteria. And Gladys went and took Eleanor's job. Eleanor used to work for the maid service. Eleanor's black. Now she's on welfare. That's how it happened. That's how it happened. Wasn't good enough to live in a $50,000 house. Wasn't good enough to drive a Buick. So they cut, and they cut, and they cut, and they cut. And now we have millions of people in this country that we have no place for. Nothing for them to do. And we like to fantasize about, they could become brain surgeons. I heard that there was a real shortage of brain surgeons. They could become brain surgeons. You know that, Bob, and then they wouldn't have to riot. There's been a major, major, major shift in this country in the last couple of dozen years. Major shift in this country. Where there's been no concern, no thought whatsoever about the people on the lowest rung of the ladder. Hasn't been a hell of a lot of thought about you. They don't give a crap about you. You know that. Always trying to squeeze your nuts, aren't they? What about the people below you? Didn't you ever stop to think about that? Well, all they have to do is, if the dads would come home and if they'd all get good jobs, we wouldn't have these problems. That's it, exactly. But the good jobs aren't there, dude. Not for the number of people that need them. And if they're squeezing your nuts, what do you think they're doing to them? Well, I was driving the kids around, to various different soccer practices and listening to the show. In the beginning, boy, did you have some bleeding hearts. I guess you kind of like the people that called me nigger lover, huh? Yeah, no more bleeding hearts as the show progressed. Let's go back to the phones. Sylvia in Tampa. Hi, Sylvia. You're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent.
Normally I don't listen to your show because you and I disagree on a lot of things. But as of tonight...
Why would you only want to listen to somebody that you agreed with?
Well, that's called life.
Oh.
But I'm married to one of those white officers that may end up in the middle of this mess. And you know what my idea of taking care of this mess is? Going over there and arresting every one of those SOBs that are in the middle of this garbage pile and start throwing the rocks and bottles back at them that they're throwing at our law officers. My husband is not perfect by any way, shape, or form, but as far as doing something like this, when the white people start rebelling, just like these black people are doing, maybe we'll get some notice for a change. My daughter goes to a mostly black school. She has harassed every day by these black people. And we're talking about racism. Honey, we are the racists that's the minority at this point. And you know, I'm sick of these black people pointing fingers at the white man saying that you are doing this against us. You are doing this against us. Stand up and get a job. Take care of your own for a change. Quit looking to everybody else for a handout. My husband's life is at stake every time he goes into these. I'm upset about this because this should not be happening. And we should not be involved in this kind of...
So let me see, Sylvia, you live in Tampa, but your husband's a St. Petersburg policeman.
I refuse to answer that.
You don't have to answer it, Sylvia. You're calling from Tampa.
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh.
But my husband may get dragged into the middle of this.
Oh.
And he's not there yet. But he is a police officer. And I don't appreciate
But he's not a police officer at the riots tonight. You were kind of making that up.
No, he's not in the middle of this at the moment. No, you're right about that.
Uh-huh.
But that doesn't mean that tomorrow...
But you said that he was.
...night that he may not be in the middle of this.
Yeah, but you said that he was. You're kind of fibbing about it when you started
I said
out.
that he may be in the middle of this.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd listen to what I'm saying instead of closing your big head...
No, I'm listening very carefully to what you're saying, Sylvia. You see, that's the problem. I listened very carefully to what you said.
You are not listening. You're listening to what
you wanted us to believe that your husband was over there.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did, Sylvia. That's why you phrased it the way you did.
Again, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You are wrong. I never said that my husband was over there.
I know, Sylvia. You implied that he was.
You know, you need to wake up and smell the coffee.
No, Sylvia, you need to call a lesser talk show host who doesn't catch you with these things.
Oh, please, grow up. You know, we have police officers, whether it's Hillsborough County, whether it's Pinellas County, Polk, who's over there in the middle of this
Sylvia,
mess.
what does a starting police officer make?
What difference does it make?
You don't know, do you?
The bottom line
because your husband isn't a cop.
That they're risking their life to protect people.
No, the bottom line is your whole call is a lie. Your husband's not a cop.
Oh, please.
Honey, you got to practice with lesser talk show hosts. Try Larson.
Yeah, okay, sure. That's why I tune you out every night for the most part.
Sure.
The only reason
Lied about that too.
Listen tonight is because I knew I'd be aired eventually.
Uh-huh.
You know,
you certainly were, Sylvia.
Somebody who will do something, not somebody who thinks about doing something, which is what you're doing.
Right. Anything else, Sylvia?
People who are out there who are protecting your hide, and you're sitting here trying to make up some stories about the African Americans who are over there throwing bottles at people who are wearing badges protecting
Well, first of all, Sylvia, I haven't made up any stories about... As a matter of fact, for one thing, I never used the term African American. I'm old-fashioned. I'm still stuck in black.
Oh, well, yeah, I have a few of those people, too, who are my friends, I might add.
Mm-hmm. Do you lie to them, too?
Oh, sure. Just like I'm lying to you.
I'm sorry, Sylvia. I caught you, honey. I do listen.
Caught my ass. My husband is a cop.
Yeah.
Whether he's Polk, Pinellas, or Hillsborough, it does not matter.
Uh-huh. But you don't know what a cop starts at.
Costs you, right?
But what does a cop start at again?
What does it matter? His pay does not matter. His life
Didn't ask you what he paid. I asked what the job starts at. You have no idea.
What does it make? What do you start at?
The wife of a cop would know.
What difference does it make? What do you start at?
I started at $18,000, honey.
Try again.
No, that's what I started at.
Yeah, maybe years ago.
Years ago, that's right. Well, you asked me, what did I start at?
Officers, as far as I know, start around 22,000.
Uh-huh.
maybe in the upper ranges of the 25,000, if that helps you at all. But what difference does that make with our conversation?
Chapel policemen do not start at 22,000.
About the riot that's across the water.
No, our conversation's about a lady who's lying about her husband being a cop.
Full of bull. My husband is a cop. And I wish I could tell you who he was, what force he was on, but I refuse to put my life
would you be kind
in
enough
that kind of jeopardy.
Would you be kind enough to tell us the name of the police chief?
Well, could,
yeah,
but I won't.
Right.
You know I'm calling
Sylvia,
if that tells you anything.
Sylvia, I know, honey. That's why I thought that you would know the name of your husband's boss.
If you take me off the air, I'd tell you anything you wanted to know. But I'm not going to tell you on the air. I'm not going to put my child or my husband in that kind of jeopardy.
But
I'm not that
you'd be putting your child in jeopardy by telling me the name of the police chief.
Well, we live in the middle of a...
Sylvia, you're not ready for the big show yet,
a real world here. A real world that doesn't see black and white.
No.
A real world that sees that African Americans are over there acting like monkeys in the middle of a jungle.
Sylvia is a fibber.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You can try and set me up all you want, but you know what? I don't fall for that because I live in a real world, a cop's world.
Right. Sylvia lives in the real world. Sylvia called back off the air, told the board off to tell me that I'm rude. Sylvia, I appreciate the fact, sweetheart, that you probably called up with the best of intentions. But the things that you were saying didn't add up, honey. And I'm not rude because I caught you. Okay? Let's do God, I'm good. Let's do Margaret in St. Petersburg. Hi, Margaret. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, that's me. My name is Margaret Lober. I'm soon to be 80, and I lived where all this boils down to nothing but hate. Just hate. I grew up where the Ku Klux Klans were about the worst people on earth. They persecuted the Catholics, Negroes, and Jews. I happened to be a Catholic. And they drew a rock with a note on it. When I was 5 years old, they were going to kill my daddy because he was in charge of the C&O railroads at this town in West Virginia. My mother fainted. What did I do? I went next door, and the doctor who came there was a head member of the Ku Klux Klans. Now, I'm white, but I think the whites should accept some responsibility on all this because it all boils down to hatred. And I know that back in the middle 40s, a college professor and my husband and I were walking in a vacant lot. There was a black boy and a white boy having so much fun rolling in the leaves. It was in the fall. And this college professor said, let's take a look. This is a special moment. They haven't been taught to hate one another. Now, being a Catholic, I don't hate anybody, nobody, but I do resent people who mistreat the blacks. As my daddy told me back in C&O Railroad at Ohio, the blacks were not allowed to be anything but janitors, and because of the color of their skin. And, you know, it's all due to ignorance. But I will not tolerate any race, color, or creed being brutalized. When I was a little girl, they told them as a little child, their soul is whiter than yours for saying such a damnable remark. Now, I won't tolerate what is happening to the black people to put all the blame on them. And any white person that thinks they're better, they're nothing but a racist. My parents were not, I'm not. And why don't they wake up and try to understand, as my father would say, there's only one thing is the black people are uneducated. They haven't had a chance in America. And I do know that they have been held back. And so I think that in the sight of God, the black people, I wonder what took them so long.
Thank you, Margaret, and God love you.